Hello guys, John with you, and it's time now to get started on build update number 2. Okay, in first build update we got the main hull, the hull of the vehicle done, and this one now we're going to start on the turret. Okay, so let's get on to the bench and let's see where we're going to start. Okay, so here we are. This is the point we're at. Let's get a pointy stick. Hairy stick. We'll call it a pointy stick because the end of it is pointy anyway, so right. So we're on to now step 17. Alright. On this little first bit I'm going to get from 17 up as far as 22 done. And that is the machine gun. Okay, the small shooty thing. Okay. Start off, if we look here, we've got some sub-assemblies here at the side, and we've got our main assemblies then, right? So 17, we're getting the main base for there, we're adding on the machine gun, the basket for collecting the empty rounds, and also kind of another clip piece, right? Whatever that is, we do not know. Oh, it's for holding the light. Okay, so piece that we're holding on the light. In 19 we're putting the gun onto the that we call it a cupola, might as well, like a cupola. We've got our lights, putting them on, a couple of other little bits and pieces, probably the sighting mechanism, because more than likely they can sort of remote fire it, as in fire it from inside the vehicle. So these would be camera lenses and things, so they don't have to stick their heads up. That's just the top cover for the machine gun itself. And we've got our ammo basket, or ammo box, should I say, and a couple of more fiddly bits. We call them fiddly bits because I don't know what they're freaking called, so I'm going to call them fiddly bits. So I'm going to get that done up as far as step 22. Alright, get that all centered there for you. Get them done, get back to you, show you what all that looks like. Okay. And here's that piece. It's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 and 22. It's basically the gun, the machine gun, the Russian 50 cal. Oh, it was awkward, I must say. It was bloody awkward. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit there on it. Boom, 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 boom. Right, there are loads of little pieces in there, an absolute plethora of bits and pieces. Pretty hard, I must say. I found it hard. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you're building this kit that you'll find it hard. I just found it very, very awkward. My fingers, I suppose the size of my hands didn't really help. Bloody noise outside, excuse that. But it was pretty damn awkward, I must say. Couple of pieces left out. As you see, I have them marked here in the orange. They're just clear pieces. There's one for here, main sort of spotlight there. There's a vision block to go in there, and there's a vision block to go in there. Pretty awkward to build, I must say. I got there in the end. It's not exactly perfect. You know, I could have been a bit neater, maybe, but to be honest with you, I did find it pretty darn difficult to do in the first place. But it's on anyway, and I'm happy with it. So, that's the little shooty thing. So, what's left? What's next? So let's zoom back out again. And put that aside so I don't damage it, because it is friggin' fragile. I don't mean I'm going to smash something down in a few minutes. But anyway, we're on now to the main gun and the main turret section. Right, we've got the pistons there, the recoil pistons. Going to make up that unit. adding it to the breech section there. There isn't going to be an actual breech in there, there's only really showing what's on the outside of it. Right, so it's there. Couple of sub-assemblies here, then we're building up the where the gun goes, I think, or is that the back? I think that's the back actually, that's the back of it. We're starting to build up the body, the main body of the vehicle. We're starting to get that all built up. There are some clear parts, but they go on from the inside, so they'll have to go in because the whole thing's going to be sealed up. But I can mask off with a bit of Tamiya masking tape and things. So I'm going to get as far as step 28. Even though it's a full page, there isn't actually that much involved in it. So we'll get that on, all that done, and we'll come back to you. We'll have a look at what all that looks like when it's all assembled. Okay, so I'll get them done and get back to you. Right, okay, we're after getting that much done now. We're now down as far as step 28. No problems, none whatsoever. This little section here is a bit fiddly getting it together. Trying to be careful not to get glue on this inner section here, you know, because none of that's to be glued. Obviously the two sides get glued together, but the breech or gun section here does not get glued in, so this whole piece moves freely, as you can see here. Okay, that moves freely. I'm going to look at it from the back. So everything works there and that. I thought I'd kind of made a boo-boo in the fact that this thing kind of sticks out a bit here. Sorry, excuse me. See there, it sticks out a bit there on the sides, on both sides. I was there going, how the hell did I get that? I mean, it wouldn't kind of fit in. But when I went down further down the instructions, I found out, yeah, it's the way it is supposed to be. So I'm happy enough with that. You know, if you end up with things like that and it's supposed to be there, then they're supposed to be there. Also had to do down here we can make up the muzzle brake. Okay, so we have the muzzle brake ready, just like we have the machine gun ready there for the turret that made there a while. So that goes up there until needed. Okay, so there's our turret anyway so far. So let's move on. We're using a little machine gun here. So we've got the top to put on, and we're putting on our barrel, a two-piece barrel with the muzzle brake. Okay, so we've got our hood ornament. We're putting on this back section and a load of little handles. Now, here's the thing. Here's John being awkward again and changing things around. There are loads of little handles there to go on, right? There's other bits and pieces to go on as well, all tiny little objects. And I was saying to myself, that is going to be fair awkward when it comes to the to masking, right? Because I'm going to do the camouflage scheme in it. The camouflage scheme I've decided on is the kind of block camouflage, you know, square blocks. I did it on one of the Terminators. I'll include a picture of it here somewhere, maybe at the end of the sequence, but I'll include a picture of it. I found sort of a picture of it camouflage and I'm happy with it, I like it, so I'm going to stick that in, use that camouflage scheme for it. So I'm going to put on anything that's large pieces, you know, like that, the back, the roof obviously. I'm not going to glue the gun into place so I can pop it out, you know, get all that painted up separately. All these things here I can fit, bar the little, anything that sticks up and is going to be awkward, just to get tape over. The smoother the surface and the cleaner the surface, much easier to get the tape over it and get it, get the camouflage, get the paint down and get a camouflage scheme onto it. So I'm going to kind of leave a lot of these little bits off. Stick them on after the whole thing is painted, and then just paint those individual pieces with a hairy stick, and that'll do the job on those. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm hoping that's the way it goes. So I'm going to get as much as I can, as in large pieces, onto it. Let me get as far as this here. Step 32. We'll have a look at it and see if there's much more to go on to it. We do have lots of more little bits and pieces to go on to it, but I don't want it too built up, because like I said, I do want to be able to get the masking done on it, and if there's too many little handles and things like that to get over in both, it's just going to make the masking much harder. So I'll do my usual mark on orange parts I'm going to do later, and green for parts that I've done now. So I'll get as far as step 32, we'll come back, we'll have a look at that, and then I'll continue on with the rest of the turret and see how that all turns out. Okay. Okie dokie. So what happened was, basically, I did a clip, went on, started doing another little bit, went back and checked the clip that I just did, and the sound disappears halfway through. So unfortunately we'll have to go back here. After getting all that done, right, bar the little handles like I said, because I want that for masking. Okay, it's easier to put the masking tape on without all the little handles and things. So any of these small pieces I'm not putting on until later on. Okay, so anything that's not marked, I did say I was going to mark them in orange, but with too much frickin' orange there. So anything that's not marked off has to be done after the painting. So we go back and get quite a bit done after that. But I am after getting all the rest of it done. I'm after getting the top on, the back piece on, the saw here, this vision block thing there. They're done anyway, right? And then I started here. I did this ducting work here. And as you can see, it's 3 pieces, and you've noticeable kind of little gap in there. Looking at photographs of it, there isn't any gap. It's one continuous piece of ducting. So I filled it with a bit of the old sprue glue, let it dry overnight, and there you go. I have to get rid of all those little seams, so now it's one continuous piece. As you see, the join was there, and the other join was just there. So the ducting went on quite nice indeed. I've decided on the camouflage pattern for it. I'm going to copy the pattern I did, excuse me, for, oh, banging off everything, for this one, right, for the T14. So I'm going to copy that, well, use that same scheme basically, right. So that's the scheme I'm going to use for this vehicle here, and I do have that square, I think, as far as I know, in the decals, so I can kind of continue on with the same kind of unit or battalion or whatever they are. So I'm going to carry on, get the rest of it done, all the other little bits and pieces. I'm working now on this section here, which is the autoloader, right. More little pieces down that I'm not going to put on until after the painting. So I'm going to have loads of, going to get the camouflage screen done, and I have loads of little pieces to put on after it, and then I'll have to be painted sort of separately, but it's easy enough to do it with a little hairy stick and do all the bits and pieces on that. So I'm working now on the autoloader, right, next, after getting that bit of ducting done. So I suppose I should sort of mark it off. So that's that ducting marked off. That's all I'm going to be putting onto that. I might put on that bar because it's not going to really affect the masking any bit. So anything that's going to affect the masking, I'm not going to put it on. I want to kind of clean surfaces to get the masking tape over and in around, So we'll have to get it over some little bits and pieces, but I'm not really too bothered about that. There's plenty to do there with that autoloader. It seems pretty complicated. So we'll get that done, we'll have a look at it, and we'll see what the autoloader looks like when it's all finished up. Okay, so I'll get them done and I'll get back to you. Okay, so we're after getting all that done. All that is in the bits here for the autoloader at the back of the turret. Just got to say, it was very fiddly, very fiddly indeed. Really have to take your time, let pieces dry before you go on, you know, putting other pieces on, because as you can see here, it's in two pieces. Well, we end up with two pieces, shall we say. We end up with this section and the other section here, and if you can see from that how pretty fragile it is. Okay, it is pretty fragile, and loads of little bits and pieces on it, as in loads of little bits and pieces on it. There's quite a number of pieces in there. Very fiddly indeed. And also then you had this piece here. This was easy enough, there was no problems with this piece here. Although when it came to the instructions for this piece here, it tells you that bar there. Okay, it sits in there. It's this little bar with little kind of grooves cut on it. Okay, little rail for the round to move up and down. It tells you in the instructions here that it's piece F44, when a matter of fact it's actually piece E44. Okay, it's not F44, it's just mismarked. It's it's E44, not F44. That was really the only sort of mistake, really. Everything else, you know, follow the instructions, take your time, and it will go on. This piece here was sort of the really fiddly part, putting that together. Excuse me. It wasn't that it was difficult, it was just that you were trying to get pieces to stay on in, you know, like these, see that cross piece there, right? That isn't one piece, that's two little bars kind of stuck onto the end into very small locator holes. So I literally had to let that dry, glue it and let it dry overnight. But once it's dry, it's pretty solid, because I mean that's going to be a pivot point. I looked down the instructions further down, and that's a pivot point for that. But the thing isn't going to be movable anyway, so we can kind of glue it in place. It's not going to be that difficult. So anyway, right, that's that section done anyway. Another thing that I want to kind of point out as well, it's kind of silly. This piece here, right, tells you to remove if you're doing version 2, right? But it tells you to remove it at that stage. When you're up here at this stage, up here, okay, this is the piece that it is, and it's this piece up here, the top of those two. They could have got you to remove them at that stage. Much easier than trying to remove it when the whole thing was one sort of fragile block, and you're trying to kind of cut it away and, you know, clean it off and make it look neat. I mean, I did get it off. I did get it off, and I kind of made it as neat as I possibly could. But you know, they could have told you to remove it a bit earlier, I thought. What the hell? It's done now anyway, and it's on. As are that ducting. I put on that bar there, tanker's bar, I think is what it is. Like I said, the handles and other bits and pieces I'm leaving off until later on, until I have it after I have the main painting done. I can put them back on then and paint them with the hairy stick. Right, so let's move on to the instructions. We should be nearly at the end of it now. Yeah, we're at the last few little bits and pieces now to go on to it, and then we can get on with the painting. Alright, we've got more of that ducting work to do, the other side to put on. There's also this piece here, and then attaching all that, then attaching our autoloader onto the back of the vehicle. Looks fiddly enough, but then again, things that look fiddly turn out not to be, and things that sort of don't look to be too bad turn out to be quite fiddly. So we'll see how it goes. And like I said, anything here that's really small, that I think will get in the way of masking off and getting the main painting done, I'm going to leave off until later. It's something I don't normally do. I normally sort of put on everything and then paint over it, but for masking purposes, if you weren't going to mask, if I was going to paint that freehand, I'd just put everything on, and but now I've decided to mask it, so therefore it's easier with them off anyway. With the back, because that's going to be up, I'm not really too bothered about it, because I can get that all painted up easy enough. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to kind of put the camouflage scheme across that or anything like that. I'll wiggle away around it. These sort of long bars here, I can fit them. They're not going to affect the masking either. As is this here, which is the travel lock. Okay, for the gun, I can get that made up, and I think it even gets attached back here. Yeah, that even gets attached into position. So you know, I can do all those. We get them on, get them into place, and we'll see how everything looks then. So I'll get as far as step 44. In other words, I'll get everything onto it that I can possibly get on that won't interfere with masking and all that. Then we'll have a look at it at that stage, see how everything is, and that'll be the end of that video then. Next video then we'll get on to getting it masked and painted. So I'll go on ahead and get these done: 40, 41, 42, 43 and 44. I'll get them done. I'll come back then. We'll have a little look and a little discussion then on the construction overall, what I thought of it and everything else. So back in 2.6. And there we go. Construction is now complete. Well, not complete, but I've got all the handles to put on. The pre-painting construction is done. Like I said, I'm going to do a lot of there's loads of little handles and things to go on, but they're going to obstruct in the painting, because of I'm going to mask it all off. And with little things protruding, it just makes the masking an awful lot harder. So by leaving all these little things off, I can put them on afterwards and paint them then with a hairy stick brush, and it's just so much easier. So there she is, constructed. The main body of it is constructed. I think it's fabulous. I really, really do. It's an awesome looking machine, I think. Construction had its couple of little, should we call them fiddly bits that I thought were a bit difficult. I found them difficult, especially this whole section here, right? That autoloader. Whether I was doing it wrong or not, and I don't think I was doing it wrong. I mean, I followed the instructions step by step. I did everything nice and neatly and carefully, and the whole shebang. I just found it extremely bloody difficult. I really, really did. But you know, it took my time. Left pieces dry overnight, so they were solid and stuff, and then it went together easy enough. Literally, this bar going across here, in hindsight, when I think of it afterwards, I should have kind of drilled it through and used a bit of metal or something for it, because it was so flimsy. I literally had to leave, you know, put plenty of glue in there, plenty of compound or whatever they call it. I know it's not called, we call it glue, but it isn't glue. It's cement, and it isn't even cement really. It's a chemical that basically melts the plastic and welds it all together. But I had to put plenty of it in there, got it nice and soft, got it all in position, held it up like that and left it overnight, and then it dried solid, so I'm happy enough with that. But it was quite fiddly, it was very, very fiddly, and the fitting of some of those little hose pipes and things, frickin' nightmare, really is a bloody nightmare. Now see those little hoses in there, all those little hoses and things, they were pretty difficult to do, I found, but got it done anyway. It's done. Next step now for me is to get this all painted, and like I said, I'm going to copy the paint scheme that I did with the T14. Double checked on the decals there. Pop them out wherever I'm after sticking them. There we go. There's the rattle of the box behind me. There's the decals, they come with it. Okay. And this little square object here. Now I'm sure that there is somebody out there that will tell me what that actually signifies. Okay. Because it is also, oops a daisy. If we look here on the front of the T14, there's that symbol. Okay, the square with the bottom triangle coloured in. Like I said, I'm going to kind of copy that. I use that same paint scheme. I'm going to have the two vehicles then side by side, and they're both sort of with the same markings. Obviously not the same number. I could give this one 365 and that 364, but that would be a bit silly. Okay, I'll come up with a number for it. What I'll do is I'll actually just look through pictures and find one with that scheme on it and copy the number off. Simple as that. So that's the construction done. I'm happy with the construction. I'm just going to go over it before I paint it, give it a close-up inspection, see if there any little areas need a bit of filling. Definitely a tiny little bit of filling is needed up here. I just spotted that now, just a tiny little bit of filler in there. I use the sprue glue again, pop it in, leave it overnight, sand it off, and then she should be ready for base coating for painting. So that's it for this video, lads. Don't forget to stay tuned to the channel for further updates, and join me and Abby on Monday, and we'll have our usual bum, and usually give a little update on how this is doing, and anything I've gotten during the week, anything new, because I have something new to show people on Monday. So stay tuned to the channel for that. A kit I've been after for quite some time, and I finally got my hands on it, and it arrived and everything else. So until then, lads, stay safe, enjoy your modelling, be nice and kind to one another, be nice and kind to your family and friends, and even people who are not your friends. Just be nice, just be nice. The world is a small ficking place, we only have a short time to live in it, and let's enjoy it while we're here and make it enjoyable for everybody else as well. Kind of getting very religious, aren't I, lads? Be nice, peace out. Anyway, lads, peace out, and I'm building military equipment that will blow the shit out of you. So unless I catch you in the next one, stay safe, enjoy your modelling, catch you in the next one, and don't forget, go out and buy yourself a kit, build it, and enjoy it. John's signing off. See you soon.